Hello, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Rstv News at 3. Top stories on the news: Senate passes 2 tax bills, rejects 10% VAT. Federal government debunks viral salt advice, warns against health risks of excess sodium. And former President Jonathan warns against covert establishment of one-party system in Nigeria. Do you love and care about River State and our peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. You can subscribe and click on the notification bell for update on our live feeds. River State Ministry of Special Duties has taken its campaign of fire and flood safety to the Mile 3 ultra-modern market in Port Harcourt City local government area to acquaint traders with remedies to fire outbreaks in a period of intense heat and flooding as the rains get heavier. Acting Permanent Secretary and Director, Administration of the Ministry, Dr. Fortune Akpila, who led the team, charged traders to take a sensitization seriously to protect them and their immediate environment from flooding and fire outbreaks. Melvin Jackson was there.
Dr. Akpila, who noted that fire outbreak is a dangerous incident that destroys lives and properties, said that if traders must keep their lives and wares safe, they must be cautious when handling fire and be ready to prevent flooding by keeping their drainages and gutters clean at all times. The acting Palm Sec added that when they continue to throw debris in the drains, there is a possibility that their environment will be flooded when the rains properly set in, and advised that refuse be disposed at appropriate dumps for free flow of the drains as to prevent damage to property.
We know that flood comes every year, rainy season, but the real main flood does not come every year. But you know, if you have artificial flooding, when the whole area is not clean, especially the drains, when you put debris inside the drain without clearing it, you know, some people naturally, when it's raining, that's when they will go and pack all their dirt from their home or from the market and put into the drains, so that the thing will not flow and the place will be blocked, and before you know, the water will always find its course and it will be moving everywhere. So that is why we are here to warn them. Let them clear all their drains, make sure that let the water flow, so that we will not find artificial flooding. And we know fire does not ring bell, it comes anytime, so we need to prevent it. That's why we told them to. So prevention is better than cure, and I'm sure they've gotten the whole message.
Also speaking, Chief Fire Officer, River State Fire Service Headquarters, Atime Jumbo, and the Principal Search and Rescue Officer, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Felix Akakara, enjoined traders to imbibe fire safety measures because whatever fire consumes cannot be recovered.
Make we dey very, very careful. Carefulness is the key word. Some people, they know the right thing to do, but they go say God forbid, they no go gree do am, they go leave am, they go do another thing. They feel say every time God dey. God, no time God no dey. God dey every time. God say, I will work with you, not for you.
So government say make we come tell una make una do proper sanitation. The proper sanitation be say all the debris wey dey inside the gutters, make una remove the stones, dem pack the sand, dem comot. The pure water sachet dem wey block this thing, make una clean am, open am, so that once the rain fall, the whole water go naturally go to the drains. Then nobody go suffer from flooding.
Elders chairman of the ultra-modern Mile 3 market, Clifford Weke, applauded the ministry for the sensitization and promised that the message will be spread across the entire market.
Today I have known that in my kitchen, if there is any fire breakout, I can use ordinary towel and soak it in water, big towel, and cover the fire. Fire will quench. And I have learned about what they call fire blanket. I saw it with my naked eye, and the fire extinguisher too. How you people use it and quench the water in the bucket. We have learned a lot. We appreciate on our work, and we have learned a lot.
the firefighter practically performed the use of fire extinguishers and other firefighting apparatuses, while flyers were distributed to traders and customers. The sensitization campaign continues tomorrow at the ultra-modern Creek Road Market in Port Harcourt and the Rumomasi ultra-modern market, respectively. Melvin Jackson, Rstv News.
Educational infrastructure is one way to make learning easy and interesting. A resource person made the suggestion at 3rd Annual National Conference on Education with the theme Education Futurology, Trends and Modern Approaches, organized by the Faculty of Education, Department of Educational Management of International University of Education, Rumonimin. Gospel Aneli was there.
In separate contributions on the theme of the conference, Education Futurology Trends and Modern Approaches by the keynote speaker, Nimi Watson Jack, and the lead paper presenter, Professor Ozoman Wogu, opined that the federal government should ask the people in the industry the kind of knowledge and skill they want as operational in Singapore. They suggested that there should be an undiluted census of schools, teachers, pupils and students to get a data for education planning, as well as access to functional libraries, science laboratories, digital tools, and reliable internet connectivity for effective teaching and learning. The resource persons also said that teachers' welfare should be considered adequately and the use of traditional books be encouraged, just as the creation of separate ministries for basic, secondary, technical and vocational skills and tertiary education to enhance education system.
If we are to build a nation where every child has access to quality learning and every youth is prepared for the future, we must act with courage, creativity and commitment. The future will not wait. If we fail to innovate, we will stagnate. If we do not prepare, we will be left behind. The task before us is not merely to improve what is, but to imagine what could be.
Know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you make a mistake. Know where you come from. It will guide you. Know where you are going. Know today. The teachers need to be motivated and given its rightful place. There should be adequate planning. It is only when we do this that the definition of education will and ultimately be the way we expect it.
Acting Vice Chancellor of Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Rumolumele, Professor Okechukwu Onuchukwu, represented by Professor Joseph Kinane, enjoined the lecturers and students to redouble their efforts to achieve the desired targets in the education sector, while the government do the needful through valuable reforms.
Students, what do you have to battle for in the future? Then the teachers, what do you do to prepare this learner for the world after school? I want to say that this program is of very serious importance to this university.
Head of Department Educational Management, Professor Okai, and the conference chairperson Local Organizing Committee, Professor Veronica Okuba, also rendered their voices.
As educators, we must create learning environments that blend the digital and physical world, fostering spaces where students can experiment, take risks, and develop their unique vision for the future.
And ensuring that we are bringing in aspects that interest the learner, at this time. So we need to correct what is going on in our educational system and endeavor to make the students pay attention, learn more, be interested.
There were separate addresses presented by relevant ministries, agencies, and from the office of the head of service that were represented by their staff education. God's Power Anele, Rstv News.
Well, that was Gospel Anele reporting. Senate has passed 2 of President Bola Tinubu's 4 proposed tax reform bills, marking a key milestone in the ongoing overhaul of Nigeria's tax administration system. The approved legislation includes the Nigeria Revenue Services Establishment Bill and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. Their passage came a day after deliberations were postponed to allow lawmakers address contentious provisions within the bills. However, the Senate rejected a proposal to raise the value-added tax from 7.5% to 10%, opting to retain the current rate amid growing public concern over the rising cost of living. President Tinubu had transmitted the 4 tax reform bills to the National Assembly in October 2024 as part of broader fiscal reforms aimed at enhancing revenue collection and improving public finance management. The bills were adopted following a 2-hour review of the report submitted by the ad hoc committee chaired by Senator Sani Musa, who represents Niger East Senatorial District. The House of Representatives had earlier passed the 4 tax bills put forward by President Tinubu, but the concurrence by the Senate paved the way for a new tax regime in Nigeria when the bills get transmitted and signed into law by President Tinubu. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has warned against the covert establishment of a one-party system in Nigeria, cautioning that such move could destabilize the nation's fragile democracy. Speaking at a memorial lecture held in honor of the late elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark in Abuja, Jonathan emphasized the dangers of political manipulation aimed at sidelining opposition parties. The former president noted that while countries like Tanzania practice a one-party system, it was properly planned for, stressing that Nigeria's complex ethnic, religious and political landscape necessitates a more inclusive political framework. Jonathan's remarks come amid growing concerns about the shrinking space for opposition politics, with the increasing number of defections to the ruling All Progressive Congress and complaint from civil society about creeping authoritarianism. Away from that, the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abubakar, has reacted to claims by the House of Representatives that terrorists carrying out attacks in the country possess superior weaponry compared to the Nigerian armed forces. Speaking during a ministerial briefing in Abuja, the minister described such claims as absolutely untrue, insisting that the military was better equipped both in terms of arms and technology. He explained that the nature of terrorism in the country is not a conventional war, but rather guerrilla warfare, which requires different tactical approaches. The defense minister comments came in response to the House of Representatives' concerns raised over the resurgence of terrorist attacks, particularly in the Northeast. The lawmakers had cited a deadly ambush on a military facility in Giwa, Borno State, as evidence that insurgents might be more heavily armed than government troops. He added that the government was strengthening intelligence gathering and had made several arrests of arms traffickers in collaboration with the National Security Advisor. Away from that, the Federal Minister of Health and Social Welfare has addressed growing concerns over a viral video in which respected religious leader urges Nigerians to disregard medical advice on salt consumption. In a statement signed by the Deputy Director of Information and Public Relations, Alaba Balogun, the ministry cautioned against misinformation that endangers public health, while acknowledging the significant influence of religious leaders in society. The ministry emphasized that excessive salt intake poses serious health risks. According to global health guidelines, including those from the World Health Organization and the Nigerian government, daily salt intake should not exceed 5 grams, but that to combat this public health challenge, the ministry said it is implementing a national sodium reduction strategy. The ministry also stressed that science and faith need to be at odds, as both can work hand in hand to promote health and well-being, while urging Nigerians to consult licensed healthcare providers for accurate medical information. The ministry reaffirmed its commitment to evidence-based policy and respectful engagement with all sectors of society, including religious communities, in advancing the nation's health goals. You are still watching Rstv News at 3. Do you love and care about River State and our peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. You can always subscribe. You can watch Rstv News live on YouTube and Facebook at Rstv Online. You can also subscribe and click on the notification bell for updates on our live feeds. Still on the news, Syria holds indirect talks with Israel to prevent escalation. And in sports, PSG crash Arsenal's hopes, storm into Champions League final. And on entertainment, Hollywood actor Okeke Bakassi officially crowned king in Imo State. That's interesting to wait to hear the details.
It is well with you, my son.
Amen.
Remember the child of who you are. You will meet people who will tell you to take shortcuts. They will tell you everybody is doing it. They will tell you that you don't have 10 heads.
You will tell them that your head is cuckoo as big as 10 heads.
They will tell you that connection is the poor man's language for corruption. Connection, no. Corruption, no. Not in your country.
Not in your country.
You will tell them that the poor people are the ones who sent you there. That we are the real connection.
See, like mama's hand, we connect to your face if you join bad gang.
Not true. We not go come out our eyes sake of so you be our king and let other people suffer for nothing. Be a good example.
Take whistle. Learn how to blow your whistle.
Do good. Bring it home. Oh yeah. Stand up. Good to go?
Good to go.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, with support from the MacArthur Foundation and with broadcast support from the River State Television.
This is Rstv World News. We bring you world-class news, accurate, first-hand, entertaining, balanced analysis. Rstv, Channel 22 Port Harcourt.
You're welcome back. New York police have arrested dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters after they occupied part of the main library at Columbia University. According to a statement from the university president, who called activist actions outrageous, said 2 university security officers were injured when protesters forced their way into Butler Library. Reports say many wearing Kefir headscarves and masks defied a ban from the Trump administration that was imposed after widespread campus demonstrations last year. However, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the visa statuses of those involved would be reviewed. More than 70 protesters were reportedly arrested, as no one has been charged, and authorities have not given details about who is being held and whether they are in the U.S. on visas. Meanwhile, Colombian President Claire Shipman said she had asked the New York Police Department for assistance and added that many of the protesters involved in the latest action were not students. Syria's interim president Ahmad al-Sharaa has said his country is holding indirect talks with Israel to prevent recent hostilities from getting out of control. He spoke on his first visit to Europe since taking office in January and seeks to broaden ties to Western countries. Israel carried out a series of airstrikes on parts of Syria last week, saying it aims to protect the country's Druze minority from coming under attack by pro-government gunmen. Speaking to reporters in Paris, al-Sharaa said, regarding negotiations with Israel, there are indirect talks through mediators to calm down the situation so that they don't get out of control. Israel has its own Druze community, and officials have said they would protect the Druze of Syria and warned Islamic militant groups from entering predominantly Druze areas. The Syrian leader's visit to Paris comes a week after clashes between forces loyal to al-Sharia and fighters from the minority Druze sect that left nearly 100 people dead. Al-Sharia has repeatedly pledged that all Syrians will be treated equally regardless of religious or ethnicity, noting that the 14-year conflict has killed nearly 500,000 people and displaced millions. In sports, Paris Saint-Germain has held off and defeated an inspired Arsenal 2-1 to reach the Champions League final against Inter Milan. Reports say PSG reached the final of Europe's elite tournament for just the second time in club history. It was runner-up 5 years ago and did so in the first season following superstar Kylian Mbappe's departure to Real Madrid. The French club will try again for its first Champions League title when it faces Inter Milan on May 31 in Munich. Three-time European champion, Inter defeated Barcelona 7-6 on aggregate in one of the greatest semi-finals in the competition's history. The PSG, which eliminated Aston Villa and Liverpool before sending Arsenal home, had lost to Borussia Dortmund at this stage last year and was beaten by Bayern Munich in the 2020 final. Lagos Zonal Directorate 1 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned popular music promoter Ezekiel Onyedika Chukwu, thank God, popularly known as Easy T, before Justice Chukwu Aneki at the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, Lagos. Thank God, alongside his company, Easy Global Concepts Limited, is facing a refilled 7-count amended charge bordering on alleged foreign exchange violations and money laundering amounting to $397,106. Serima Chiolu tells us more on this and other entertainment stories.
The case, which initially commenced before Justice Owoye of the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, was reassigned to Justice Aneke for further proceedings. The defendants pleaded not guilty to all charges when they were read out in court. Following the plea, prosecuting counsel Biksu Buhari Bala requested the court to fix a date for trial and urged that the defendants be remanded in the correctional center. Popular Nollywood actor and comedian Oke Bakassi has been crowned king of the Umuocha community in Imo State. Oke Bakassi was officially presented as traditional ruler of Umuocha Autonomous Community in Mbise by his kingsmen. The coronation of the actor, now known as His Royal Highness Eze Okechukwu Oyebule, the Okwe II of Umuocha Obohia, was a grand celebration of Igbo culture and tradition.
A Nollywood star of our time to mount the throne of Okwetu to see to the welfare of Umuocha as an autonomous community.
Wife of Nollywood actor Junior Pope, Jennifer, has penned a deeply emotional tribute to her husband on what would have been his 45th birthday, May 7th, 2025. Junior Pope Odowondu tragically passed away in April 2024 after drowning in the River Niger during a film shoot. Just hours before the incident, he had shared a video from the ill-fated boat ride. The sudden death shocked fans and colleagues across the industry, sparking conversation around on-set safety and the welfare of actors. In the years since his passing, Jennifer has consistently honored his memory through personal tributes and reflections on their life together. Michael Pitt, widely recognized for his roles in A Boardwalk Empire, Dawson's Creek and Reptile, has been arrested in New York City on multiple charges, including sexual abuse, strangulation, and sodomy. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and the presiding judge set his bail at $100,000. He is expected to appear in court on June 17th. Sari Macholo, Rstv Entertainment News.
Well, congratulations to Bakassidea, who have been crowned king. But will he still share the jobs we used to know him for? Well, time will tell. Just before we leave, do you love and care about River State and the peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. You can watch our news live on YouTube and Facebook at Rstv Online. You can also subscribe and click on the notification bell for update on our live feeds. I am Solomon Nelson. Good afternoon.
Nations of Africa, oil-rich, teeming with wildlife, and home to diverse peoples and cultures.
Players to fashion out ways to diversify these.
We focus, among others, on education, health, agriculture, politics, environmental issues, and remote development.
Rstv.
It traverses the region for development.